Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Ghost in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 44 Magnum handgun, or as I'd rather call it, the hand cannon. This is a very high skill, high reward handgun that can be the best in the game or the worst in the game depending on how you use it. You're going to get to see me use this weapon with a variety of attachments, the AKIMBO muzzle brake standard, and I believe I'm also rocking it with a tactical knife. The gameplay that you're seeing was not easy for me to get. Oh yes, I had an ACOG. You can put an ACOG on this handgun for some reason. The gameplay was not particularly easy to get. This was one of the more challenging in-depths to do, but I'm going to explain why later. Let's start with the stats first. Let's talk about the damage. This pistol will deal 73 damage per shot in close quarters combat. That means if you're close to somebody, one shot is going to deal 73 damage. That's more than the marksman rifles. That is extremely high, and it drops off to 34 damage at a distance. That's its bare minimum. So at a distance, this handgun will deal more damage than most assault rifles and most submachine guns. What this means for you is that it takes 1 to 3 shots to kill. Wait, what? 1 to 3 shots to kill? That's not right. I have 100 health. It only deals 73 damage. Well, it's got some very special multipliers on it that will allow you to get one-shot kills. The headshots are 1.6x damage. This is a very, very large headshot multiplier, larger than most other weapons in the game. Probably larger headshot multiplier than the sniper rifles, but it also has an upper chest multiplier. That's, I'm going to call it boobies up. It's 1.4x damage for hitting boobs up, and that's about the same multiplier that most guns get for headshot damages. So if you shoot somebody in the head or chest, it will one-shot kill them within relatively close ranges. And I'm not even joking. The range at which you get one-shot headshots is approximately 7 meters, and the range at which you can get one-shot chest shots is 5 meters. This doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when the pistol shoots as slow as it does, and when you drop somebody in one shot, that is an amazing thing. When you put the muzzle brake on it, you're increasing these ranges to approximately 8.5 and 6, but it definitely does matter. It has a very long 2-shot kill range. The 2-shot kill range on this pistol is 20 meters. That means if you shoot somebody anywhere on their body, head, neck, chest, feet, whatever, it will kill them in 2 shots up to 20 meters. This outperforms a variety of submachine guns, and I'm going to tell you that this is an extremely long-range handgun, but it does have one extremely difficult to overcome downside, and that's the fact that it only fires at 200 RPM. And you're probably looking at 200 RPM thinking, well, you know, that number is pretty high. Not really. The Magnum and handguns and the high-damage weapons from previous Call of Duty games shot anywhere from about 515 to about 600 or 700 RPM, so this is easily 1/3 to 1/4 as fast as previous high-damage handguns. Matter of fact, this one shoots so slowly, the weapons that I can compare it best to are shotguns and like noob tubes and launchers from previous games. This is extremely slow, and when you're pulling the trigger, this equates to a little bit more than 3 pulls per second. It's 3.33 repeating technically, so if your trigger finger is fast enough that you can pull it more than 3 times in a second, which almost everybody can do, you're actually going to kind of jam up the gun by oversampling and make it shoot slower. So you must shoot this weapon slowly and in a controlled fashion, because if you spam it, Magnum will jam up and be a little bit less predictable, and you don't want to be in that situation. The recoil for this handgun, or hand cannon, is very high. It has the highest recoil in the handgun class, and on top of that, it has the lowest center speed. We've talked about center speed in the foregrip episodes and in the past. That's the speed at which your gun will go from the maximum deflection on its kick and come back down to normal. It has a very slow center speed, so it returns to steady very slowly, and my recommendation is that you do not spam. If you spam, you want to be very close range, kind of in their face, hip firing, point blank. If you're doing long ranges, if you spam, it's not going to work. This doesn't work like the old pistols in the other Call of Duty games, where if your first shot hit, you could just dump all the rest and they'd go in the same direction regardless of what the barrel was doing. The barrel is actually important, and if it's kicked up and out of the way, that means you're going to miss your next shot. This also has the widest hipfire spread of all pistols, and I know in the previous episode I said the M9 had the widest hipfire spread, but the Magnum's kind of in its own category. The M9 has the widest spread of the regular pistols. This one has the widest spread of all pistols. It has the least predictable hipfire, so you're going to need to run steady aim on it if you do intend to hipfire. It also has the slowest aim down sights time of 0.3 seconds. This is approximately assault rifle aim down sight time. It's a little bit faster than sniper rifle, so the time at which it takes you to aim down your sights to fire accurately on this handgun is very, very slow, and something like quick draw will make a big difference. It's also got a very slow reload time. The reload time, depending on if your magazine is full or empty, will be around 3.3 seconds, give or take a little bit for how many bullets you've got in the chamber. And the reload cancel time is still very long at 2.367 seconds. This is a very, very long reload time. I can't stress that enough to you, that when you reload this pistol, you need to be somewhere safe, because I'm going to say about 2.5 seconds is a long time in Call of Duty world. The magazine size is 6. It's a revolver that's kind of locked in place and it's not changing. That goes without saying. I think that the iron sights are good for the first shot, but then they get a little bit ugly. They're very clear and you can line up your targets and get that first shot in with no problems. However, after the first shot, the barrel kicks up in the way, and like I said, unlike previous Call of Duty games, instead of ignoring the barrel and continuing to spam, you actually need to pay attention to your sights with this pistol. And if you spam, and especially if you want to shoot fast at long ranges, the sights are very ugly and very difficult to do that. So first shot, awesome. After the first shot, not so much, but you could put an ACOG sight on it. I mean, that's a thing that you can do. I haven't had a lot of great success with the ACOG sight, but I do know some players that really like rocking the Magnum ACOG. Near the end of this episode, where we get to the more subjective parts, you're going to ask me, do I like this weapon? And honestly, I'm going to tell you that I do not like this weapon. I had a very, very difficult time getting the gameplay that you see here, and maybe it's because I'm not good enough with this pistol. The aim assist seems to be lesser on this one than other weapons, but this is a very high skill, very high reward gun. You do not want to miss your first shot. If you can line your first shot up and shoot, this kills faster than just about anything else in the game. I mean, it's one shot and they are done. The only drawback is your slow aim down sights time. However, if you miss your first shot, there is so much time in between your first and second shots that they could kill you 2 or 3 times over, so you need to either be highly mobile and jumping around or shooting them in the back and hope that they can't turn and hit you very fast. So do not miss your first shot, and remember that this is a gambler's gun. This is a pure skill gun. This can be the best gun in the game in the right hands, and in the wrong hands, like maybe my hands, it can be the absolute worst and most punishing gun in the game. It was very difficult for me to use. Some people are going to love it and some people are going to hate it. You're going to ask me what I think it's best used with. I think it's best used with the muzzle brake attachment. The ACOG sight is interesting, and I've really liked the ACOG Magnum in previous Call of Duty games, but in this one I didn't find it to be as viable. I found the sight to be more of a hindrance and actually made it more difficult for me to aim. The regular muzzle brake and iron sights works great. The muzzle brake increases my range and increases the chances that I'm going to get a one-shot kills, which is exactly what I'm wanting. And interestingly enough, even though the hipfire spread is wide and that the AKIMBO spread out times have been a little bit nerfed in this game, I had a lot of good luck with AKIMBO just because I could pull both triggers once and it would instantly kill, and in close range it would be extreme overkill. I dropped people very, very fast with the AKIMBO Magnum. It was not a very difficult thing to do as long as I played stealthily and approached. Well guys, that's all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something useful. If you'd like to check out the previous episode, which is on the M9A1 handgun, the stats on that one will surprise you. You can click the box on the left, it'll open in a new window. If you'd like to check out the next episode, it's going to be on the MP433 Grok, which my gameplay is much better for that episode because I did end up liking that pistol. You can click the box on the right, that'll open in a new window. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.